Good morning. It's so wonderful to see everyone's smiling, shining eyes. Thank you all for being here. We were able to do this last year. It was a much smaller crowd, but this is much better. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Megan Carney with the Glenview Chamber. I'm also a 13-year resident of Glenview. My family and I live close to downtown, and we moved here from the city, like so many of you did, and we have enjoyed just being a part of the community, being a part of OLPH, and supporting local businesses here. So I want to introduce Michael Mazie with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Chicago. He's going to talk a little bit about the market here in Glenview. Come on up, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see so many familiar faces. It's been a while. I've been a resident of Glenview since 2003. I've been blessed to have the joy of raising my two youngest kids here. I have 5 kids, but the 2 youngest got the benefit of living here in Glenview and going through the school system, and it's been amazing. Both are doing very well. Our company, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Chicago, actually is an offshoot of actually Koenig and Stray, if everyone can remember those days. And very lucky to have been part of the Koenig and Stray days. Ed Koenig, who just turned 100, recently passed, bless his soul, but he developed an amazing company, him and Norma Koenig. And so, a number of years ago, 2014, we actually were purchased by Berkshire Hathaway, and we rolled out the brand of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So it's been just a great experience for me, being with the company since 1999, actually. So I got to see the evolution. So the company's been around since 1961 in the community. And we've always wanted our team of brokers to be able to guide our clients through the home buying, home selling experience. And doing that, we have a number of different divisions that support that. We have a mortgage division, a title insurance division, we have an insurance division, we have a relocation division. So we're a full service organization that provides all these services so that it's a seamless transaction for our clients. We brought some data for you. Actually, there's a little booklet that we gave each of you talking about the state of the market. We're here at the State of the Village. But we wanted to give you an idea of what's happening in the market, because we talk about it. Every time you go to a party, it's like, how's the market? How's the market? And the data is it's very interesting, very impactful. And I'm going to let Kevin, this is Kevin Rines. He's a co-manager with me. Kevin's been in the business for 18 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so really excited to have him part of our team.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with Michael for the past 10 years of my career, which is amazing. So a lot of what we talk about when Michael said, well, how's the market? It's about arming you with information, right? So that's what we wanted to give you guys some information about. If you open up the book, on the left-hand side, we provided you with some market info. The top panel shows you, we kind of just came off this really unique market, right, where COVID hit, and it was one of those, is there going to be anything going on in real estate, right? We had brokers coming to us saying, is anything going to sell? Is the year over? Is it complete? Is it done? And then it just almost lit on fire and just took off from there. So what we wanted to show you on the far right-hand column there is the trailing 12 months. So you can see the 2019 numbers, the detached single family, on new listings we're at a little bit over 1,300 units, okay? At the end of 2020, we were down, about 13%. And that's to be expected, right? COVID hit, the market dried up a little bit, everybody stayed in their homes, then we started feeling a little bit more comfortable about things. If you go down there, we can see closed sales. We went from 513 units to 600 units. Actually went up in 2020. Okay, that's a 17% increase. Median sale price stayed flat during a year of COVID and uncertainty, which is great for our marketplace. We talk about average market time actually went up a little bit, which again is kind of to be expected based on that market. If we take a step down and look at the attached single family, which isn't the bulk of our market in Glenview, but important to take a look at anyway. New listings down about 5% year over year. We have our under contracts up about 3%. That's a pretty flat number. Closed sales, again, held steady in 2020 from 2019. And then when we take a look at average market time, up a little bit in 20%. If you take a step down, now we're going to look at year over year 2020 versus 21. Okay, these are great numbers for our marketplace. On the detached single family side, new listings, stayed very strong, very firm, almost the exact same units, 1177. You take a closed sales, up 31, almost 32% on the detached single family side. Median sale price in our market, up 15, almost 16%. We're up to a 665 price point. You take a look at average market time, down almost 50%, 47% on a decline. On the attached single family, we look at new units. As far as new listings, we're up about 5%. Closed units, up 31, almost 32%. Median sale price, again, up 13%. So strong numbers for our marketplace. And then average market time, down 30%. Okay, so that's showing you guys a little bit on our statistics, but we like to arm our brokers. Real estate's an emotional business, right? Everybody's selling the largest asset in their portfolio in most cases. So the statistics really help drive and tell the story. This sheet on the right-hand side is showings in our marketplace, which we can track. Where's the showings? Where are they taking place in different markets? So if you're a seller and you're looking at pricing your home, where can I position my home in the market to be at the best price point? So you can see on the top here is the detached single, on the bottom is the attached single. But if you just look down the units, the average price point of 580 to 725, that's our highest price point, over 700 showings in that. This is the last 90 days of market time. So it's important to look at these markets and know. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, right? Information is so readily available. You can go to these aggregators and third-party websites to get evaluations and do those kinds of things. But, taking a look at the data and really diving into how to position your home at the right price point in order to maximize your return is important. That's what we try to arm our brokers at Berkshire Hathaway with. So any questions, we'd be more than happy to assist you with. If this data is just blowing your hair on fire and you're like, what the heck does this mean? Reach out, give us a call, and let us help you out, okay? So thank you.
And by the way, we brought a little gift for everybody. We brought you a Berkshire Hathaway umbrella for the car. So when you're leaving, make sure you grab one. I'd like to introduce our village president, Mike Jennings, right now to present State of the Village. Thank you.
Good morning. And thank you for that information. That's very useful and helpful. And thanks everybody for coming. Welcome to the State of the Village address. I'm Mike Jennings. I've been in the village since 2004. It's my honor to serve as village president, and it's my privilege to stand here in front of you guys today and tell you about all the good work that other people are doing on our behalf. So, first, State of the Village. Bear with me a little bit. Wanted to first say thanks to the Chamber, the League of Women Voters, and the Glenview Values Project for hosting the event. It's important to hold and be able to present this and answer questions, and really we appreciate your support. And although there are always projects to work on, always things to continuously improve upon, and I got to tell you, I've been waiting to say this for about 6 months. As I stand here this morning, the state of your village, ladies and gentlemen, is strong. So before we go and look back at 21 and 22, let's take a look back at the village from its incorporation in 1899 today. It's really not about me. It's about other trustees. It's about village staff. It's about people who have come here in the decades and generations before that we're building on. We're building on a lot of very hard work, and we're proud to showcase that work for you this morning.
Glenview has always been on the move. It was the home of Illinois' first and most famous naturalist, Robert Kennicott, whose collecting expeditions took him to the Yukon. For 58 years, the primary training facility for Navy pilots was the Glenview Naval Air Station. And for decades, it has been easy to get from here to there because of Glenview's proximity to local expressways, commuter trains, and O'Hare International Airport. Yet Glenview is a place to put down roots. We are a family-oriented community that is welcoming to all. We have walkable, friendly neighborhoods, beautiful, natural areas like the Grove, Air Station Prairie, Gallery Park, and Wagner Farm, exceptional schools, and a thriving business community. We come together during periods of fear and uncertainty to lift one another up and keep residents healthy and safe. We achieve amazing, award-winning redevelopments through thoughtful collaboration with local leaders. And we govern with fiscally responsible practices to maintain a balanced budget and high service levels for residents. Glenview was primarily a farming community of 325 when it was first incorporated as a village in 1899. Development took off in the 1950s, spurred by the opening of the Edens Expressway, and it hasn't stopped since. Today, 48,705 residents live within the village's nearly 14 square miles. Half the land is used for residential, with almost 18,000 housing units. A quarter is commercial, industrial, and retail, and a quarter is open space. Through the years, the village of Glenview has maintained its reputation as a great place to visit, raise a family, and do business. The best schools, parks, and natural resources, combined with solid infrastructure, careful planning, and sound fiscal policies, have helped ensure that Glenview continues to be a vibrant, growing community.
Good stuff. So it goes without saying that we came into this year with a great deal of uncertainty. Almost 2 years ago, coronavirus came into our collective vocabularies, and despite many of the challenges, I'm proud of the way the village has prepared for and managed the coronavirus pandemic since it first came into our collective consciousness. The board has been proactive, both in communication and budgeting, which we'll get into a little bit later. But let's start with a topic that's been on everybody's mind for, almost 3 years now. The business of the village has continued, and this is important, with efforts to minimize the risks and maximize everybody's safety to employees, contractors, and residents. The village staff have diligently worked with the Cook County Health Department, the other jurisdictions, to spread the word about testing, local vaccination events, and to keep people informed about positivity rates and other statistics. I have and will continue to encourage residents to get vaccinated at the start of every board meeting. The village established a reopening plan in May to develop a measured approach to reopening certain on-site village operations and functions to ensure the protection of the health and safety of employees and residents while maintaining continuity of services. Our community development team has continuously worked with local businesses to ensure they understood state and federal regulations, as well as education regarding financial assistance programs. There's also a statewide mandate requiring all of our fire department personnel, all of whom serve emergency medical functions and are classified as healthcare workers, to get vaccinated or to comply with regular testing. They've been on the front lines of this pandemic since the beginning. And I really want to give a quick round of applause to say thank you to our fire department, our police department, our 911 dispatch center, and the public works department for their 24/7 devotion to keeping us safe and healthy throughout this pandemic. Recognize that guy. New leaders, streamlined governance. So if you've been to or watched a board meeting in the past several months, you've probably noticed some new faces. 4 of the 6 trustees are new this year. It's transformational for the village, and I'm really excited about what this group can accomplish. We've got fresh viewpoints, differing perspectives, and that's what healthy government, healthy discussion is supposed to be all about. We don't agree on everything, and that's the point. We all want what's best for the village, though, and constructive conflict is good and good for decision making. We respect one another, respect the process. That's for Sidoti. And those things lead towards a really good discourse and even better decisions for the town. Another change you may have noticed this year is the way we've streamlined certain processes to make it easier for residents and businesses to work with the village. The Zoning Board, the Appearance Commission, and the Planning Commission have been consolidated into one body, the Development Commission, which has allowed us to take a more comprehensive view of new and existing developments and make holistic recommendations rather than getting differing opinions on 3 different bodies. It's a better experience for village customers, both applicants and interested residents, and it leads to better outcomes for the community. Let's go to community engagement. Late last year, we took the initiative to develop a community engagement strategy for the village. What we aim to do is to create an ongoing dialogue with residents and inform people of opportunities for community feedback and to get involved with local government. Perhaps most importantly, identify new innovative approaches to communicating all things Glenview. You'll notice we're already acting on the plan. We hosted the Citizens Academy this fall, which I believe wraps up this evening, a 7-week course where we meet with folks once a week and introduce them to a different department within the village: police, fire, dispatch, community development, finance, public works, and the village manager's office. And we hope to do it again in the very near future. But in the meantime, congrats to our first 30 graduates who are going to graduate this evening. And I've heard nothing but positive feedback from Citizens Academy. Want to hear from you in terms of comments, questions you have for how we can do it even better next time. Last night, we hosted a virtual Q&A about the downtown code. We put our staff forward and answered whatever questions residents had about downtown development, and it was a good and productive discussion. In September, the village hired David Just as our community engagement manager to develop these community engagement opportunities and execute on the community engagement plan. Even before COVID, the village board recognized a need to be proactive, adapt to market conditions, and protect the economic vitality of the village. COVID, of course, reinforced that need. We created the Economic Development Strategic Plan to recruit and retain businesses, particularly in our downtown area. We identified opportunity sites, what we called spark sites, as prime areas to recruit new development. We're also looking at business support opportunities to help commercial property owners update and improve their facilities while still offering reasonable rents to retain and attract tenants. Village staff are in the implementation part of this plan now and working on the final policies and procedures to present the board to start enacting some of these measures. One such process currently underway is the new Development Commission's review of the updated downtown code regulations to reflect the plan recommendations and community input from the Glenview Connect process. Board consideration of the Commission's recommendations on the text amendments is anticipated for January. This part's great and really exciting for me. The last item I want to talk about from the past year, which is perhaps the freshest and best news of the year, we're working towards closing the Glen TIF, Tax Increment Financing District, before the end of the year, which, as some of you know, is 1 year before we had originally planned to close it, which gives the core taxing jurisdictions, the elementary schools, the high schools, the park district, the library, and the village, 1 more year of access to those incremental property tax receipts. And I'm excited to learn more about what these core jurisdictions are going to do with these funds to continue providing the great services to our community and our children and our public health going forward. The Glen TIF, this redevelopment started way back in 1998, brought 5,500 new residents to Glenview, thousands of jobs, and nearly 2 million square feet of retail, restaurant, hotel, and office space. In an earlier draft of my notes, we had the line, "But wait, there's more." I debated whether to keep that in. You can tell what my decision was, in a very infomercial-esque way. But in all seriousness, the development brought more of this to our town. Gallery Park, Atia Middle School, the Park Center, the Glen of North Glenview Metro Station, Fire Station 14, and NIPSTA, the Northeastern Illinois Public Safety Training Academy, as well as almost 650 acres of private residence and commercial developments. And perhaps the best news, property owners will see no increase to their property tax bills as a result of the TIF ending. No increase, simply a reallocation of existing dollars from the TIF to the taxing jurisdictions. Again, this is the culmination of more than 2 decades of collaborative work, past and present leaders, from Nancy Furford to Gary Cummings to Jim Patterson, staff, both current and past, behind the scenes, Don Owen being one incremental part, really standing on the shoulders of a lot of excellent work of past leaders and community workers and staff to show some excellent results. The Glen is a world-class development that has become the model for how to close and redevelopment decommissioned American military bases. Let's take a look at the transformation. That's great. So on to capital improvement projects. The roads and other infrastructure are by their very nature decaying and degrading assets. All the traffic, all the weather changes certainly don't help, and we dedicate a lot of money and resources and engineering time to making sure our roads and other infrastructure are drivable and usable for the community. Some people don't know this, they're prioritized numerically by the villager's contractor. Drive around, they take a look at every street surface and they assign every street surface a number based on the condition. 100 being perfect, just repaved, 10 being you don't want to drive there. And that's how they're prioritized in terms of need in a worst first basis. And it's in keeping with this village's municipal governance and this board's philosophy of making decisions on a data-driven basis. So you'll see some stats here. This past year, we resurfaced nearly 3 miles of road at a cost of about $3 million. I'm sorry, $2 million. And as far as reconstruction goes, which is a rebuild of the street and its infrastructure from the ground up, this usually takes place after about 60 to 80 years. And again, we use a worst first prioritization, and this year we will spend more than $13 million on about 2.6 miles of complete road reconstruction. A couple of special projects to call out. Glenview Road and River Road water main replacements involved replacing a half mile of water main to a new 12-inch PVC and replacing the 6-inch cast iron mains. The new water main on River Drive will be relocated on the edge of the roadway to maximize the redevelopment opportunities of the area in accordance with the Glenview Connect process. And this one's really cool. The Pine Street redevelopment, the Pine Street riverbank stabilization down in the north end of Pine Street will improve water quality in the West Fork of the North Branch of the Chicago River and is part of the village's ongoing effort to implement water quality improvements consistent with the Natural Resources Plan. Some recent development projects you may have heard of. Rehab to the existing Burger King restaurant, updated branding on Waukegan. The Center for Seniors, a private senior center operated by a nonprofit which provides adult daycare, meal programs, and senior resources. Life Storage, which is an adaptive reuse of the former Pioneer Press office building with a new addition spanning the ground floor between the buildings. Importantly, especially in this area, this use will generate very little incremental traffic so as not to increase the congestion that's already at that intersection. And one that some people are very excited about, the new Big Bowl, a 240-seat restaurant proposed for an outlot at the Jewel in the Glen Shopping Center. Now let's talk about what we can expect for the year ahead. As I've said a number of times, many of our duties start and end with the budget. The board's core duty is to provide good fiscal stewardship for the village, manage our balance sheet, keep our finances strong, because if that doesn't happen, we can't really talk about the rest of the things that we've been talking about this morning. This is a core function and something that we're very, very proud of. It's a privilege for us on the board to make thoughtful decisions about how the village's tax dollars are spent for the betterment of our community. It's a relatively small portion of your property tax bill. It runs about 7%. And I'm proud of how much we do with so relatively little. And we make tough decisions and always strive to keep the tax burden of the community as low as possible. We've maintained Moody's highest AAA rating for 31 years. And by now, we're only one of 13 municipalities in Illinois to have this highest available credit rating. The common theme here is that it takes years of effort by many people, thoughtful, careful, advanced planning, careful decisions, fiduciary stewardship to make this possible. The board made some proactive decisions at the outset of this pandemic, allocating more money towards our savings to fortify our position and give us flexibility to adjust to economic uncertainties. Did we foresee the pandemic? No, of course not. But we on the board felt that the current economic cycle was getting a little bit long in the tooth. We decided it was prudent to set aside more savings in terms of fund balances. So we were ready, perhaps more ready than we could otherwise have been, when the cycle did turn down as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. One thing to note about the 22 budget, the village added a large wholesale water customer in 2020, and the increase in volume we purchase is allowing us to keep the consumption rate flat for residents year over year. Typically, the consumption rate for water ticks up 1% or 2% each year, but we're excited to be able to pass on these savings on the water consumption rate to residents. Another big item the board is considering is the more than $6 million in one-time federal funds from the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, which was signed into law by President Biden this spring. Among the uses the village is considering for these funds are road and streetscape updates, support for up to 100 local businesses, inventory and replacement of lead service lines, and critical investment in much-needed water main replacement projects. So there's George. And you'll see working left to right that we've got the school districts, the elementary school districts, the high school, the Park District, Cook County, and then Village of Glenview with that green bar and the other taxing jurisdictions to its right. We work very hard to get the most bang for your buck from a village tax receipt standpoint, and we will continue to do so. And because of that, this is a great chart. Glenview has the lowest property tax burden per household than many of the communities in our surrounding region. And this is something else that we will work very hard to maintain going forward. We have to do more with what we have. In terms of potential redevelopment projects, you'll see here the Signode campus and the Pearson Education campus. The village understands that both industrial zone sites are still for sale. However, no applications have been filed to redevelop either site. The 2017 comprehensive plan lists possible redevelopment scenarios for the Pearson site: reuse under the existing zoning, institutional use, R4, which is 4 homes per acre, residential, and a portion of the Signode site, the former ITW headquarters lot. Again, reuse under existing zoning, single family or multifamily compatible with Glen Lake Estates. The village is currently considering additional industrial use regulations such as a conditional use process, which further evaluates a proposal to to determine if conditions need to be applied to mitigate impacts of its use. The pending results of the new requirements are intended to address community concerns with new distribution facilities in areas adjacent to established neighborhoods. There's a lot on this slide, but I'll just go over a couple of points. The Village Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP, is a multi-year infrastructure plan that prioritizes projects based on needs with corresponding revenue sources and consists of core projects like road, water mains, sanitary sewers, and storm sewers, as well as special projects like bridges, streetscape, sidewalks, and green infrastructure improvements. Included within the proposed $29.8 million CIP is $16.5 million to construct 3.7 miles of road and replace 4.5 miles of water main, in addition to $2.4 million going towards the resurfacing of 2 miles of roadway. Some of the larger projects included in next year's CIP include the Tall Trees Subdivision Drainage Project, which is being done in conjunction with the Army Corps of Engineers, and the widening of Chestnut Avenue from Lehigh to Waukegan to add a middle turn lane, which really should improve the traffic and the traffic flow in that area. Got another video. So anyone who's visited Costco on the weekend has seen the backups at that stop sign and experienced delays, I think, turning eastbound to get back onto Lehigh. And one of the things that we like to do is think about incremental improvements to existing conditions to make life better, particularly at that busy intersection. So the proposed roundabout at Patriot and the entrance road to Costco is also in the 22 CIP. A lot of video was worth 1,000 words in that, from that perspective. Quickly run through a few items that I'd like to make sure everybody's familiar with and taking advantage of here at the Village. Sign up for the E-Glenview. It's easy, just go to this link, put your email address in, and aside from the print newsletter that goes to everybody's house in Glenview, this is the best and most popular way to get news from the Village, I think. Village's weekly e-newsletter full of information about goings-on around town, updates on important board matters and opportunities to get involved, as well as special announcements from time to time. Again, glenview.il.us/e-Glenview if you haven't already. We also have Smart 911. We want to continue encouraging residents to sign up for Smart 911. This platform allows residents to create a profile that's free and, yes, very secure. And it provides information to 911 dispatch so they can help you faster in an emergency, which is very, very important. It also allows you to receive alerts and notifications of weather, traffic, and other emergencies. Smart911.com to register. This is a cool bit of technology that we installed in terms of smart water meters a few years ago. You can sign up for the Smart Water Portal to monitor your own address's water usage, and you can be notified of any overuse by comparison to your historic usage, which of course allows you to be notified if you have a potential leak or if you're using too much water. Very, very important for managing the conservation of our water resources. That's glenview.watersmart.com. You can get texts, you can get emails. It's really pretty cool. In terms of keeping up with the village, I want to remind people of all the ways you can keep up with what's going on. We're online, we're in your inbox, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we have a Nextdoor account, we get the Village of Glenview Report, the newsletter, which is mailed 10 times a year to your houses, and we've got the resident handbook. We try to be wherever you are to get you your news. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And there's your current board. And now I believe we have some time for questions. Thank you for your time and attention. From a logistics standpoint, do you want to do the microphone into the audience for questions? I'll do that. Do you have a helper?
I can help with that.
Check, check. Hello, hello. That works.
First question, Gail?
I just wanted to say that those were great ways of keeping up with the village, and it was a phenomenal speech, listening to everything. But the Glenview Herald is of the local newspaper is also a great way to keep up with the village. It's free, and it's owned by the Daily Herald. It comes out every Thursday.
Thank you for that. Reminder about the Daily Herald for the TV soundtrack. I think we have one over here.
I just want to make a really quick comment in support of the Costco project. From an environmental point of view, roundabouts really reduce greenhouse emissions. So let's put up there as a positive action that we're taking. Thank you.
We agree. Thank you, Henrietta.
Thank you, Mariana. Other questions? Going once? Sue?
How was it determined how to give priority to the different ways of spending the ARPA funds?
Well, it's an ongoing discussion now as part of the budget process that just wrapped up and will become before the board next month. It was really a research effort and an effort to see what the possible uses were for the funds. Even if we can't use ARPA funds directly for projects, as many of you know, cash is fungible, so if we use funding for one project, then we have funding available for certain other projects, certain other infrastructures, certain other policy and social goals. I do know that one priority of the community, as well as for the league, is to try to put resources to affordable and attainable housing, and it's something that we're committed to doing either with ARPA resources or just generally going forward.
Karen?
Speaking of the ARPA funds, you had mentioned up to 100 businesses in Glenview would be affected by that. This might not be an answer you have yet, but how would you guys go about
determining what businesses and how to help them?
It's a policy, good question, about the 100 businesses that we think could be supported through the ARPA funding. I was told to repeat the question because this mic goes into the TV. We wanted to expand the assistance that we provided to local restaurants and to recognize that other businesses in the area were suffering as a result of the pandemic. So I think it boils down to a policy discussion on who else qualifies, what determines whether a business is locally owned and operated, how much each business would get, what types of businesses are eligible for funding. But really, it's a recognition that there are more than just, food service and restaurants are important. I don't want to minimize that. But who else in the village, from a local business and from a supporting local business standpoint, can we use our public funds to assist and help them through this time? So, to be determined, but we're going to have a detailed policy discussion on that and the implementation and the rollout, and I would envision working together with the chamber and other interested parties to make sure that's rolled out in a way that everybody's happy with.
Absolutely. I think we would love to form a focus group and sit down with you and the trustees for a more lengthy discussion on that. Thanks, Mike.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yes, about how much, when the TIF ends, how much tax revenue will be coming in? Is there an estimated amount?
I know exactly who can answer that question.
Maggie? Were you thinking Maggie, Mike?
I think I'm thinking Deputy Village Manager Bosley for this answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excuse me, into the village of Glenview, there'll be about $2.5 million. But know that about 1.7 of that we have been receiving annually as a make-whole payment from the TIF. The core jurisdictions, the school districts, the library, the park district, and the village received make-whole payments throughout the life of the TIF. So we will receive 2.5. The added revenue, if you take the 2.5 minus the 1.7, is about 800,000, which will be used to cover the expenses the village will now incur in managing that TIF geographic area. Snow and ice maintenance, landscape services, things such as that will now be covered with that incremental revenue. Does that answer your question? 100%. Great, thank you.
I have a follow-up if you don't mind. Deputy Manager Bosley. Oh, stay there. Stay there. The part that's going to Village of Glenview is terrific. What is the total amount of tax increment that's being redirected from the TIF into the taxing jurisdictions? Do you recall?
That is a great question.
I thought it might be.
I'm going to round it to about $40 million.
$40 million.
$40 million. That is the amount of incremental property taxes that the TIF will be receiving this year, 2021. So now that $40 million will be redirected to the other taxing jurisdictions. So it is a great story, especially since it's a year early. So
that's $40 million?
Correct.
40?
40.
Tom? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Look, I'm obviously having a little bit of fun with it, but it's massively important that this redevelopment project, in collaboration with other governments, other jurisdictions, past presidents and staff, $40 million of incremental funding from this development is being put to use in our community. And I don't think I can overstate that importance of all of the work that's been done over the past decades to make this possible, make it possible a year early. And again, it's not me. It's my privilege to stand up here and tell you the hard work that everybody else has done. But I want to recognize that. And it's a meaningful and important impact to our community. And it allows us to talk about a lot of these successful and exciting projects that we're doing this year and next year and the years to come. So that was a very, very great answer. Thank you. Anything else? Oh, I get to end on that? No, Shiva, Howard. Get her the microphone, please.
Coming.
Take your time.
was just curious, as you consider redevelopment and rezoning of these parcels of land that are available, especially for residential use, how much cooperation and conversation are you having with the school districts about not burdening them with
100%.
more students that they can handle?
All of the core, thank you for that question. In terms of redevelopment, the question is, to what extent are we involving the school district in the discussions? My answer in short is 100% of the conversations. I mean, we have to have every stakeholder at the table, all of the core jurisdictions, the school districts, the library, the park district, in terms of what impact that will have in terms of creating customers, if you will, for the school district and allowing the school districts to continue to provide the excellent education and services that they provide for our community's children. And so, yeah, no decision happens without involving all of those core jurisdictions in the discussion. Thanks for allowing me to highlight that. Thank you to everybody other than me who has made this possible. It was a pleasure to present this, and I'm available afterwards, or email me if you'd like to discuss anything anytime. But thank you.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. We've got the Ronco Pocket Fisherman right outside.
Thank you so much, Mike. We enjoyed hearing all about what's happening in our village. Now I'd like to introduce Sue Swearingen from the League of Women Voters. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here with you in person. Thank you, Mike, for your impressive report. I've lived here for almost 20 years, and much of the information that you're sharing is the reason why we're proud residents and continue to be proud residents of Glenview. Thank you also to everyone else here for making time to attend today's State of the Village. It's these kinds of interactions that create an informed electorate, and that is what the League is all about. I don't have pictures, I don't have video, but I have statistics and historical references and call to action, so I hope that will keep you engaged for the next couple minutes. We are honored, the League is honored to be here with you today, again, once again in person, which we've missed that for the last couple years, and grateful for the opportunity to co-host this forum with the Chamber and the Glenview Values Project. And we're also grateful to today's event sponsor, Berkshire Hathaway, with Home Services Chicago. A little history lesson. I see a lot of familiar faces, but for anyone here who's here for the first time, a little history lesson. The League of Women Voters of the United States was formed in 1920, just a little over 100 years ago. And that was just months before the 19th Amendment recognizing women's right to vote was added to the Constitution. With the foundation established by the National League, this local Glenview League has now engaged in nonpartisan political activity for over 75 years. We're just celebrating our 75th year. By nonpartisan, we mean that the League neither supports nor opposes political candidates or parties. While we are best known for sponsoring candidate forums and registering voters, the League also has a long history of studying public policy issues and then adopting positions on those issues as a basis for advocacy at the federal, state, county, and local levels. These public policy issues are codified in a 100-page book, which I left at my chair over here, called Impact on Issues, which, if you're interested, is available on Amazon. And I think we actually have a copy here in the library. But I bring that up because while we very much want to make it clear that we are nonpartisan as far as political parties and candidates, you may wonder why we're out and about in the community advocating for things like climate and affordable housing and other kinds of issues that we actually do take a very strong stand on. And that is the reason, is because of the policies that we've studied and advocate for. The League's work is guided by core principles and the concepts of government. Among other things, we believe that democratic, small d, nonpartisan, government depends on informed and active participation by its residents.
Here's the historical reference. Thomas Jefferson felt the same way, as he was purported to have once said, "An educated citizenry is a vital requisite for our survival as a free people." Vital, requisite, survival. These are lofty words for a mid-sized community in the Midwest. And yet, in these interesting times, when trust in government at all levels is at an all-time low and cynicism an all-time high, vital, requisite, survival may not actually be an exaggeration. Take, for example, the voter turnout numbers for the 2020 presidential election. The good news is that 66% of voters cast their ballots. Sounds like a very high number. The flip side is that in this incredibly high profile, and I dare say high stakes election, 1/3 of eligible voters didn't show up. Crazy, crazy. That's my own opinion. In our own local elections last spring, let's bring it back home, just over 16% of voters turned out for our village president in hotly contested trustee races. 16%. 84% of people in our village did not care enough to have a say in the very issues that affect us the most in our daily lives. 84%. And by the way, 16% is double the turnout of 8% in 2019. So again, good news, bad news. While local elections historically, and I might add inexplicably, given how local issues most directly impact our lives, draw lower turnout than higher level ones, there's reason to believe that these recent numbers reflect a serious erosion of citizen confidence and trust in government, partly due to the obstacles to becoming part of the informed citizenry that Thomas Jefferson talks about. What's more, when voters don't show up, there's a real chance for contention and discord. With 8% or 16% turnout, our officials don't really have any guidance for where to establish priorities and direct their efforts. They can't know what their mandate is if no one bothers to tell them. Until residents do tell them, and then until the residents do tell them when they respond to well-intentioned decisions with disapproval. So voters don't feel it's necessary to provide input when they decided to stay home from the polls, but they sure do make their opinions known afterwards. And I think some of you in this room know what I'm talking about. The League doesn't believe this has to be the reality going forward. As far as voter education, we continue to work hard to engage voters in the electoral process, including helping them become informed about the issues and candidates on the ballot, as well as where, when, and how to safely and securely cast those ballots. Between elections, we educate the public on the nuts and bolts of local government. Our how-to guide to civic engagement in Glenview is available for download on our website, and it explains how to effectively engage with local decision makers. We collaborate with District 225 civics faculty to teach students about the importance of voting and how their participation can make a difference in not only election outcomes, but also interim community decisions. Last spring's fire station closure decision being a great example. There was a lot of youth and young adult participation in those protests. Members of our League's Observer Corps attend board and commission meetings of the village, library, and school districts 34 and 225 and report on the issues that arise and the decisions made by these governing bodies. Local government can also play a significant role in educating the citizenry and inform resident participation in government. This first requires access to not only the record of government decisions, but also to the deliberations behind them. Open meetings, adequate notice of proposed actions, and availability of public records. Second, officials must remember that they represent all citizens in the community, not just the ones who voted for them, and provide essential opportunities for public input and discourse. This is especially important when an election does not provide a definitive mandate. The League welcomes the village's efforts to make the workings of local government transparent and open to the community. Occasions like this State of the Village address offer residents and businesses the chance to learn about the issues affecting our town and ask questions on any topic. In addition, we applaud the village for recent efforts to better engage the community in its decisions and provide a channel for residents to make known their opinions and preferences. For example, the recent Glenview Connect workshops, the extensive Glenview Connect workshops for downtown and village-wide development, the ability for residents to view and participate in budget meetings and question and answer sessions, just like last night's. That was the development meeting, I'm sorry. The online viewing and participation at board and commission meetings for those who cannot attend in person, a continuation of what was put in place during COVID. Timely summaries and recordings of village board meeting proceedings, and the recent hiring of our new community engagement manager. Welcome, David. David, thank you. However, this once-a-year event, like today, has limitations for a considered exchange of ideas with the public. More of this kind of interaction is necessary. And similarly, for those who speak to agenda items at village board meetings, our comments seem to be a one-way communication. No response is available from the trustees, and a 3-minute speaking limitation can sometimes be insufficient to adequately express issues of concern. So what other opportunities does the public have for a real give and take with the trustees before an issue becomes contentious? For starters, we would like the village to commit to resuming regularly scheduled informal meetings with constituents, and at those meetings have notes taken and filed for the public so the rest of the community can know what kind of conversations were being held at that time. And those meetings could include village staff, who are sometimes in the best position to respond to technical issues. The village could also create advisory groups or additional commissions. For example, an economic development commission, which would benefit all business owners in the area, or possibly a cultural arts commission, which would contribute to the non-commercial or non-business aspect of the quality of life here in this community. I know it can be difficult to fill positions on the existing commissions. I know that's been a struggle sometimes in the past, but it might be because the public's interest lay in some of these other areas. With more opportunities for the public to feel heard and for the village board to get input to align its efforts with the will of the residents, voters will feel empowered. This will reduce mistrust and cynicism with the potential for increasing voter turnout, which in turn will give our village officials more solid direction for fulfilling their government responsibilities. Here's the call to action. As residents and voters, let's keep asking ourselves to do better to give our elected officials direction so that they can do the job we expect of them. In turn, we ask our officials to constantly ask what they can do better to be more transparent, accessible, and responsive to all residents, and to represent our views and our will for the betterment of the community in which we all live and take so much pride in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. But wait, there's just a little bit more. I want to thank our chamber board. Can you stand up? I have the dream team. Can you stand up, please? Thank you. There's so many of you here. Give them a round of applause. Thank you all so much for being here. I also wanted to mention the Glenview Values team. Can you please stand? Thank you all for being here. I also wanted to thank the Glenview Grind. Thank you, Kathy, for providing coffee this morning. I also wanted to thank the League of Women Voters. Thank you, Lindsay, Hillary, and your team at the library for hosting. And thank you to our sponsor, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I believe the umbrellas are going to be available by the door. It's not raining today, but it might rain later this week. So make sure you take one with you, keep it in your car, and think of Berkshire Hathaway the next time you are interested in buying or selling a home. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day.